Entre el bellísimo Ajusco.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Happy
Hello,
World
everyone.
Environment Day.
Happy World Environment Day.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, this is Ron Motter. I'm host of Planeta.com and here with the winners of the Colibri Ecotourism Award, a reunion of sorts. It's about 20 years ago since we came up with the idea of how to celebrate World Environment Day by acknowledging and listening to Mexican leaders and leaders in Mexico focusing on responsible travel, indigenous tourism, nature, conservation, indigenous languages, on and on and on, focus on ecotourism. We had the award from 2000 to 2010. So this is our precursor to the 20th anniversary when Febo won in 2001. And we'll have that big Zoom chat a year from now. So mark your calendars. Like to introduce people, if you can, let's just go in order of appearance in the video. So Jennifer, Marlene, and then Febo, please just introduce yourselves.
Sure. Thank you, Ron. Thank you for having this. Thank you for having held that Colibri Award for us and to recognize all wonderful people in Mexico. I'm Jennifer Morfín. People call me Jenny, Jen. And I've been living since 2016 here in San Antonio, Texas. And I do a lot of different things, not much involved right now in ecotourism, but I'm very tied and in love with Mexico. And here we are, very happy to share with you guys and to keep in touch. And you're dear people that fellow workers, well, friends that work awesome in Mexico. So very happy to be here and thank you for the invitation. Ron, you're sharing the spotlight now. Okay. I'm not sure they're going to be able to see Marlene.
Okay, Marlene. Oh my goodness. Go ahead, Marlene.
Buenos dias. I'm in Cuernavaca, and maybe of this little group, I'm the oldest, which is very honorable. And my name is Marlene Ehrenberg Enriquez. And I started very early with all these ideas of responsible tourism, I may say around the Olympic Games, which is the Mexicans in '68. And well, one learns doing these things with common sense. And at the moment, I'm, well, stand by because of the virus, but one never is stand by. Like Febo will tell us later, we are always in contact trying to inspire other people to do what we do, the younger ones. My little, let's say, like agency is probably now more successful than ever. I have small groups. I was in the Huasteca in March, and it was splendid, combining all this river rafting and culture and cooking and folk art and, well, 10, 15 days of absolute wonderful things. I think it's the future for smaller groups going out in the countryside. So that's what I keep on doing. I plan every year a few of them. So it's the introduction. We later can talk about that more. And you need people that are sensitive, sensible, and care for nature. And
Wonderful.
thanks for the invitation. Wonderful.
What? Also wonderful to see you, Marlene. Febo, Antonio Suarez.
Hello, everyone.
Location of all.
I am Febo. I'm in the center of the universe in Mexico City. And this is very important for me. I'm so happy to be with my friends here. I'm a professor at the University of Mexico. And I work mostly on green infrastructure. And that reminds me that it was with Ron Mather 20 years ago that we started the first urban ecotourism classes at the UNAM, at the National University. And now they form part of the wider curriculums for the architects, for the landscapers, and for the urban planners. I'm also, I'm a service provider on the ecotourism field. I do this, I started 12 years ago, this bike tour company in Mexico City, in which we talk about many things related to urban ecotourism. It's a very successful company. It's called Mexico Bike Tour. And from the heart, I'm a trail builder. I build trails, and every year I'm building trails on different areas of Mexico, of the rural Mexico. I work a lot with community, with my students, and I'm so happy to be with my friends here from the Colibri Award.
You know, I remember, Febo, when we had the online North American Ecotourism Conference in 2000, and there were all of these online discussions, and you got into a little bit of a tiff or an argument with Emilio Cafuri. And
Exactly.
And later on, it was again 20 years ago in San Antonio, when Emilio said, well, we'd like to do this award, and this would encourage people to better understand and appreciate Mexico. It would be good for his business of sending people to Copper Canyon. And I said, all right, you know, who gets to choose and how does this done? And we did it all on the very basics. You know, he was going to offer $1,000, and I would have feudal control over who won the award. And it's like, all right, well, let's test this. Let's give it to the guy Emilio was arguing with. And I just, you know, and he was always just, you know, so happy with, you know, knowing you and what you've done. And so
Fantastic
20 years,
guy.
Febo.
I remember that from the heart. And we started like this international relation on the basis of what the web was at that time. And at the end, we found that everyone related with the ecotourism field that Ron was linking was really doing something from the heart. And for many years, Ron told me, you should start this business company. It's not only thing about planning, but now I'm a service provider. I have this company that many of my students work on, and I see it from the time it's a construction you started. You started gathering people here in Mexico, and we have this set. We say in Mexico that for a business to work, we need a gringo in, and you were the gringo that time, and you're still the gringo. So thank you for
Still the
guiding us.
gringo.
Yay.
See, well, in the meantime, we have lost Jorge Chavez de la Peña and Francisco Verástegui only this year, no, Ron?
That's
and,
right.
Emilio Kifu.
So I needed to touch base with you folks before anything else happened.
Yes, please.
Good grief. Let's speak kindly of the dead. Francisco Verástegui passed away last fall, and he had developed a map showing where the notable and historic trees were in the city of Oaxaca. And just this ardent environmentalist and political activist voice. His was the hardest money to get across because he didn't have a bank account, so it's hard to transfer funds. But we figured that one out. Good person. Any other good comments about living or dead?
Yes, I got in touch with him last year because I have a unusual client, Jesus Silva. What's his name? Because Marquez, yes, the son of one of a very important politician, and he's a politologist, and he has 2 sons or 3, whatever, and he was in Oaxaca, so I contacted him with Francisco, not knowing he was very seriously sick, and I told him, join them, take them to the botanical garden, and he took them to Monte Albán. And then I contacted Pedro Martinez, the bicycle man, the best one in Mexico and the world. And this nice family had a super time. And a few days later, a friend of him told me, Francisco is very sick. And I said, I have to deposit money right now that you sit. And I said, well, whom do I deposit the money of the services he gave me? And well, I sent it to his friend, and a few weeks later he died. I was very surprised not to know it, you know. And about Francisco, I don't know if the other ones knew him. He was an artist. On top of it, liked it painting and writing, and very bohemian, and wonderful, wonderful. Very knowledgeable about history and everything.
Beautiful. Jan and Febo, any comments?
Well, I
Go,
remember
Pedro.
a very nice walk, which I believe was one of the nicest urban walks with you on Saturday on the way to El Pochote to have breakfast, right? You took me to that place and you introduced me to so many interesting people. Within the years, I've continued going every time I'm in Oaxaca to the Pochote Market and to the different initiatives. And I've met many people, and they always tell me, where is Ron? Ron? And that's a very interesting thing. It's not about someone who have left, but I have very good thoughts about this time. And well, I miss you guys. You should come here to my bike tour once. Every Sunday happening. Once we get rid of the Corona time.
Do you lead the bike tours, or is it someone else?
Usually I guide the bike tours during Sundays, which is, I believe, the best days because we have many streets free of cars. But usually during the week, it is my students who guide the tour. So this has become part of my subjects because many of the students become architects talking about architecture and riding bikes and landscape. So I
Nice.
would be very happy to guide all of you guys next time we will meet here in Mexico City.
I would like to be in that class.
Fantastic class because many of the students become guide tourists. At the meantime, they make some money. And you know, they do something that Ron started telling me years ago, 25 years ago, because we were more interested at that time on the planning of the ecotourism. And he said, you should guide tours. And it took me a long time, till 12 years that we started this bike tour company. And now it's been one of the most incredible things. I mean, I've met very interesting people and we have had so much incidence on the planning of urban ecotourism. And we still do some trails in the mountains of Mexico. And actually, I'm planning something with Héctor Ceballos Lascurain in the rural area of Mexico City. We've both been hired by the local government. So now within the time, I see these initiatives as something that started 25 years ago for us as a group. And every day there are more things coming and coming. One of my big plans for the next month is to go walking from Oaxaca all the way to Camino Copalita to Huatulco. So, and when I ask about this company, it's a rural company, like the Sierra Norte company started 15 years ago, and there are more and more initiatives happening. So I believe many things have happened for the good of people and the environment in Mexico as a country, despite all these riots as a country and these riots as a world. Mexico is still a good destination, and Oaxaca is one of the top destinations where Ron lived for how many years did you live there, Ron?
It was 13.
A lot of time.
Oh yeah, and it was
He told
and just like and just
caldo
go ahead, Marlene. I think she's saying caldo de piedra.
Yes.
So the Chinanteco Run restaurant serving stone soup, aka caldo de
Wonderful.
piedra. Piedra de
Best
caldo.
tip.
Caldo de piedra. Oh, rock soup. Anyway, wonderful people. And, you know, the cool thing is so many of their kids or their grandkids are on Facebook or doing other things online. And again, what I'd like to do in this year of not traveling abroad for myself is to at least do some virtual tours with you. Febo, how is the Wi-Fi? Can we do a live video from a Sunday bike ride when you're feeling well enough to go outside the gate?
Do it. Definitely, we can do it. Actually, I would be more than happy to do that, because we usually, what we do is, I usually guide for a Sunday, but some of my students do like several things on different areas of the city. It's like a performance, right? So it would be fantastic. But now some bike rides on Sundays are not happening. So I think we'll have to wait, but it will be fantastic. That's a great idea. And the next time we start it, the first Sunday or the second Sunday, we can do that. I would be very happy to do that.
That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know if you saw the video I posted a week ago. The strip has been closed down here in Las Vegas. So I did a nice bike ride down Las Vegas Boulevard. But I had this really cool looking inobtrusive holder for my bicycle to hold the camera. You know, it can't be more jittery. So it's like, oh, I'm going to have to get a GoPro and, you know, mount it to the helmet. But
yes, definitely.
Never wanted to be that guy, but I will be.
How long and with how many people, Ron, do you do that?
Say again?
How long or how much time do you take for these tours, and how many people do you like to take?
Well, I'm not a guide. And
Okay.
right now right now I'm a caregiver, you know, with taking care of mom, and that's more or less the full-time job. But I can get away. And also, like, you know, we were talking before, Febo, I mean, biking is one of the best ways to get away and safe, and you can just stay away from people while riding somewhere. Just yesterday, the casinos have reopened in Las Vegas, and with various protocols in place. But, you know, there's just, I don't know what your thoughts are, but, you know, one, I'm confused because we're all at different stages around the world, and in the country as well, what's allowed. And, you know, again, the big question is, well, what's safe? You know, and living with an immunocompromised parent, you know, want to be extra safe. But I'll take you folks on a tour, and if this ever gets off the ground again, yeah, we'll do the Insider Las Vegas tours.
I think that's a great initiative, and I think it's one good way to also restart the tourism industry. What has been happening with the tourism industry, it's in a way devastating for the people who only depends on this, but will definitely be different. I'm not sure. At the time, we can do this. We can start doing this virtual tourism, bike rides, walks over the different cities, and I think that's a fantastic initiative. Ron, we will just have to do it the more like constantly and professionally as we can do it. We have fantastic guides like Marlene who can take us to different places where she's been working for the last 50 years. Or we have also these beautiful places, at least in Mexico City, that we can promote. And I'm sure Jennifer can also take us walking around her place. And you,
Yeah,
That's a lovely
Sure.
river.
that's a great idea.
The river walk is one of the best in the world.
Excellent.
and las misiones, all the different misiones that you can go and visit. And I think in that sense, I mean, what you asked of, you know, opening the casinos, and I think it's very personal, and people should take their own, you know, responsibility on doing whatever they feel it's safe. But in my opinion, doing this, the virtual tours, and maybe the nature walks, like everything, like if something is gonna have more give or anything is going to be, you know, tourism, so ecotourism, like nature walks and things like that, that really are in open spaces, are safe, and that especially can really help you to be less anxious and more present. And I think that everything that has to do with helping our mental health and, you know, well-being is going to be first. So I think we're on the right track, and by promoting special activities that we can do. Oh, look at the dog. So yeah,
Febo wins the dog
in my
point.
opinion is that, for example, my kids are already supposedly open to go back to karate, and they're starting to do it in parks, but I don't feel there yet. So I will take them back whenever I do feel it's safe, and maybe others already think it's safe, and that's fine too. I think it's all about respect too, and just taking care of ourselves and others, and taking all the measures that we can to be safe.
I think it will take at least a serious 1 more month, definitely, to be inside, not to risk anything. And the ideas of video, traveling and whatever, that's absolutely excellent. The truth is nobody knows anything about anything at the end, you know. You cannot risk yourself, less the elderly. Maybe you're all very young, but I personally think at least I'm going to stay at home, and I don't know how to invent, and probably Jennifer will help me and do some virtual whatever. I'm in a very lovely area in the oldest part of Cuernavaca, and there's a lovely walk up to the mountain. I'm going to start thinking of what we do and how I do it, or whatever. That'll be something, a good, ¿cómo se dice? Un buen reto, a good
Challenge.
challenge.
Hey, lightning round, change the subject. Can you give me a favorite word in an indigenous language?
Yoskohui. Thank you, Enriquez.
Marlene?
You want this
One word.
in some native language? Well, I can mention Shishim. It's the name of Verena's eco hotel, and it means a shell in some of the 23 languages the Mayas have.
Beautiful.
You know, Mexico has 68 languages and very many dialects or varieties. Shishim
I'd
is
like to say one word that everyone knows. Chocolate.
Ándale. And you know what it means?
Tell us. Explain us.
It means bitter water.
Okay, and
It
there's
is.
another one which I like even more. That is called tescalate.
Ándale, sí que rico.
Where do you get, what is and where do you get tescalate?
You get tescalate on every Mexican community going from Oaxaca to Chiapas. It is a Mexican beverage of fermented corn, and actually now they have vanilla, which is what some of the original Mesoamerican ingredients. So that's a fantastic beverage. It's the beginning of the powder beverage. You know, it was invented here in Mexico, like the pinole, all these green materials that you keep them dry and safe. And we have this said that el que tiene más saliva es el que más come pinole, ¿no? ¿Recuerdas, Marlene?
Me acuerdo
Sí,
muchos dichos muy simpáticos. About food, well, everything I like to mention the word for the true word for tortilla, which is tlaxcale, which is some word got lost when the Spaniards came, and they thought their potato and egg dish was called tortilla, and they changed the name. And we have a state called Tlaxcala,
Well,
which
but
is the
within the
place of
time,
the
guiding tours, at least in Mexico City, one of the main activities and focus that tourism have in mind is about food. But how do we start relating food with the landscape, with the culture, with the economy, and with the people? Very easy in Mexico City. You just have to stop on the right side of a tamales bike, and then you can make a whole cathedral about food in Mexico. So that's one of the most interesting things that probably started 20 years ago with the idea of walking to the mercados, Ron, and probably you haven't seen it now, but if you come to Mexico City, you can't believe the number of guided tours into mercados that you find today. That's a major activity. And even the major Mexican bike tour company, it's actually one way to try more food and the fastest way to get to another food stand. So that's a very interesting thing, at least on ecotourism in Mexico. And well, this idea of cultural engagement with the culture. So I think that's growing a lot, but you started that. Remember you were taking everyone walking to the different mercados at Oaxaca.
And even to the pozole there in Mexico City. I remember that.
Ah, the pozole in Vivaldi. Wow. Around the corner where Ron used to live.
So on my shelves behind me, I have some of the Super 8 video cassettes, and we're slowly transferring them into digital files, and including the 1998 trip to the Ajusco. Maybe that's when I saw your house.
Yes, I remember.
Again, just so long ago. And yeah, and my technical challenge, and soon to get an updated MacBook, but how do you digitize? And then what do you, when you have a big digitized shaky video, what parts of it do you put online to not irritate people? You know, I don't want people getting motion sickness.
No, you need to curate and choose and edit and have something nicer.
But talking about markets, finally, that was where I was like half dreaming last night. I said, what is the most important thing that is basic, is eating. So the more we take people, I used to do this forever, taking people to the markets, because I myself love the market of Coyoacán, San Angel, and it's obliged to go to the Mercado of Oaxaca. By the way, it burned partly weeks ago. And it's important because it's a perfect chain. You produce, you sell, you cook, you eat, and you serve it to tourists. This is the basic that every tour has. I don't like the word tour, but it's these paseos or whatever. That's what will save very many people.
We're running out of our time slot, right, Jen?
No,
not necessarily. Like we can.
Oh, we can just keep on going. I don't know if
for a little bit, because when we were starting to talk just about other colibris, I wanted to just mention Jorge as well, Jorge Chávez de la Peña, that we did do a lot of collaboration around with him too, and he did Ecoturismo Tap, and then we did a little effort of there, the Colegio Mexicano de Ecoturismo, and we did several collaborations there in different places. So then he went back. I think he collaborated too with Rainforest Alliance, and anyway, like many good things he did. And then he went back to Oaxaca, and he just recently passed away last month. So I just wanted to, mention him too, that he was a dear friend, and we didn't mention him before. Well, we sort of did, but.
We also worked together. He also joined us with the Manual de Buenas Prácticas, remember?
Yes, that's right.
He was with you.
Of course. Yes, so...
and he gave the first course of ecology or ecotourism in the in the Politecnico, in the big university. He was a pioneer in that. The diploma, no, Jennifer?
Well, yes, he was a professor, and he gave a lot of information on, well, Ecoturismo TAP, his methodology as well, and he has, yeah, lots of dear people, and he collaborated with Versículos and a lot of the things with Semarnat as well, to be able to,
Yes.
So just to mention him as well. And we do have a little more time if we can, like, for a bit more.
Well, excellent.
I would
I don't
mention
know if we were.
Emilio Pufuri.
Well, one second.
Wouldn't you mention
One second.
Emilio?
One second. I want to
Yeah.
let me just quickly add about Jorge. I met him at the conference. I think it was in Cozumel when Semarnat and Sectur were first collaborating. This again, late 90s. And here comes this, gentleman to introduce himself, and he was just so polite and so courteous, and we just had this lovely friendship. When I lived in the Centro Histórico of Mexico City, I lured all of you down for various eating adventures, and just what a wonderful way to chat and to take advantage of, good people, good places, good food. But with Jorge, with Jorge and with Marlene, they both had memories that went back 50 years. They could talk, they could remember the Centro before the Metro, and all of these different changes. And again with Jorge, it was just the loveliest conversations and walks, and that's just sorely missed. Now, if we can go over to Emilio, anything else about Jorge, or should we go to Emilio?
We can go to Emilio, but then I would like to mention, like, I don't know, just this part. Like, while you were talking, then Febo was talking about the walk of the Pochote. I remembered as well the time that we were, like, a lot of the meetings you held with a lot of patients, teaching people about internet and, all the ways of getting connected. And here we are today, like, so many workshops and with patients, with everyone, and then walking in the Viveros, right? Like that meeting we had as well. So, like, thank you, Ron, really, for doing all this and being the connector and the networker and precursor of all of this, like 20 years ago or more, and bringing us together, and actually, like, looking for this with Emilio. And that's, I think, a great segue to start talking about Emilio, of doing this, that part of recognizing different people that were doing things differently since time ago, that, and perhaps like Febo says, like, a lot of the ideas that you would give, people were already sort of doing it, but like, you would always come with this amazing idea of, like, hey, Emilio, you have some money, you might be able to invest, and incentivizing people and recognizing what they're doing. And I know, I mean, Emilio was amazing in saying yes, but actually you doing all the pushing and bringing it together.
Well, no, the idea of the cash award was all Emilio's. It wasn't anything I went up there to say, hey, let's do this.
Okay.
I had already been on the jury for Condé Nast Traveler, had their green awards, and there were a couple, and then I had won the Lente de Plata award, and I recognized that awards could be a really good tool for encouraging this kind of behavior, and again, of letting people hear about Mexico bike tours, or Bicicletas Pedro Martinez, or Rebozo tours, or Shishim, and not just staying with the businesses. We happily wanted to give awards to academics like Jorge Chavez, or conceptual architects like Hector Ceballos Lascarain, and also media with Steve Bridger and Fernando, the language acquisition and work that Gerhard Buttner did in Oaxaca. Wonderful. And again, all of this then fed into planeta.com. A lot of content is there. The coverage of Ajusco Mountains wouldn't be there if it weren't for Febo. But my question in 2020 is like, wait a minute, I haven't updated anything about the Ojusco Mountain for 20 years. Or places that are beloved. And places that are beloved, like, again, where would we like to go in Mexico City? Chapultepec Park, Viveros, Xochimilco, Templo Mayor,
Centro Histórico.
The markets there. Do you remember there was one market? It was near the telephone tower building in the Centro, okay, where they had that kind of experimental market across from the traditional market.
Yeah. Yes, in front of the Chinese town. Sí. Remember that?
No, it's a Mercado de San Juan, no?
No, it's not. It's a handcraft market. It was more like an experimental into an all ugly square building.
And of course, it lasted only a few years. But again, what are those places today? And do they want visitors? And I guess the other question is, do you want, what is responsible? I mean, right now, for me, it's a question of, can I go into a place where people are social distancing? Or as the videos and the tweet show from Las Vegas, one second. As the video shows from Las Vegas, people are crowding into the casinos. And again, with this obliviousness of all these, people that want to take precautions. Again, what Jen said before, people will do what they want to do. Yep, that's right. And then if they're going to do that, I'm staying home.
Mm-hmm. We all have the choice.
See. No, about market right now, for instance, I have friends near the Mercado de Medellín, which is even surrounded by little restaurants from people from Colombia. They have been giving services. You call them and they take the food fresh, to your home. They're very, very good at that. All the markets have discovered through cellular phones how to take food. And I can only say congratulations, because they're competing in a way in high fence with the big, horrible chain markets, which I hate. But the Mexican markets have learned how to survive and doing this as well.
Excellent.
Yes, but I'd like to say something about that, which is more related with the marketing of the tourism industry of the last 5 years in Mexico City and all over the world, actually. It is that almost every service provider, for some reason, became linked to these new platforms. Some are newer than others, but most of the marketing about tourism, whether it is ecotourism, urban tourism, or conventional tourism, is now depending a lot on platforms like Airbnb and also as TripAdvisor. And there should be one change in the future, especially for small providers, because now almost all tourist providers are depending on those big platforms. So this is changing, and we should talk about it sometime, because if we talk about fair tourism and environmentally sensible and other things we've been talking for the last 20 years, it seems like we stopped with it at a time, and we never saw that these big platforms were running all over the tourism industry. So we now, as service providers, are strictly dependent on these big sharks of tourism. So that's another point. How can ecotourism have this impact in communities, and how should a responsible marketing be? Preguntas al aire.
It's a good point. Very important. I myself have an Airbnb here in Cuernavaca, and a couple, a Swiss girl and a Mexican boy, stayed stranded in this house, and they doubled the time they wanted to stay, and I gave them a special percentage of the discount, half, so that I also felt secure that they were here. But that was an interesting moment. And right now, like Febo says, those platforms are really, well, dominating the market.
Completely. So when we talk about responsible tourism, now that's some big issue that we left, and actually there is more people talking about it, but we should do something specifically for that. And I think this COVID thing that is happening has made all of us to think about it twice. What is responsible tourism from a local perspective that it's been marketed abroad, from abroad? And what are the commissions? What's a fair commission? All these things that we have to talk about. I think that's what has been happening lastly in the tourism industry. That's where most of the discussion is happening, at least with service providers.
I think at one point was it 1993, in a tianguis, where I got together 13 people, remember, to build up Amtabe. Precisely, yes, that was in a way the idea of getting together, joining, and helping each other to offer each one something else. In a way, it's a baby of what you are proposing, I guess.
Well, the point is that when we talk about these big platforms, we're talking about the marketing of the world from nowhere. I mean, the world is being marketed from Palo Alto, California. And how are we going to do it more responsible or more equitative in a way? And that's where the discussion is today. But anyway, those are the 21st century things. All this, what was called the share economy, and now we see that the benefits should be also shared. When I think about Pedro Martinez, Camino Copalita, and all these great examples, or Paraíso Jijim, that has been suffering a lot despite Verena's hard work, I really see that the world of tourism is now depending a lot on many factors from abroad, and not all the benefits are, I mean, it's becoming more expensive for the people. And environmentally, that's something to be on discussion. But those are the things that I just wanted to share with all of you before we end up this talk, and say that I'm very happy. Now I have to leave, but I've been very happy talking to all of you.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Febo.
Probably a good time to wind this down and to stop the live recording. And are you folks in for July 3rd? Can we have a reunion chat in 1 month?
It's a Friday, right?
And again, what we'd like to do is beyond the Colibri winners, is to have the friends and those who are supportive of environmental conservation and ecotourism, and with a particular focus on Mexico. We'd love to hear what's happening around the country.
Yeah, because it's the best way, like, to contribute in what's emerging for the future, to be a part of it, and to do it from us to the most local and whatever we can continue to put in. So yes, happy to be on board.
Well, viva la biodiversidad. Thank you, everybody. Happy World Environment Day.
Lo mismo. Feliz día viernes. Estén muy bien. Chao. Adiós. Cuídate, Marlene.
Gracias, Febo. Bye.